Okay, with Elijah Johnson, Circles is a short film played at the Fashion Style Experimental Film Festival, also known as Pretty Boy Floyd, correct?
Yep.
Not to be
Yeah.
mistaken with the boxer, right?
No, no, no. I actually have a YouTube channel where I like talk about like beauty tips and stuff that I've been doing for like well, not 18 years, but since I was 18, so about 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that name actually came about because my brother used to call me Pretty Boy Floyd because I could never go out the house without like getting ready or like looking my best. So the name kind of just stuck.
And so you just do that YouTube video, and then now you just did this fashion film. So what, like, so you're obviously know how to make videos, but this is your first like official film, correct?
Yep. First like official film. And that came about because I do modeling as well. But I think at the core, like I'm an artist. Even when it comes to photo shoots and things like that, like I'm very involved in like the mood board and whatnot. So yeah, this was a different medium, but it definitely helps me grow creating it.
Gotcha. And you said it before the podcast, you're a fire you said you're a firefighter as
Yeah.
your like night job or moonlighting job, you're a firefighter and a paramedic.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my day job. So in my city we actually do both. We do firefighter and paramedic. So we do fire and EMS. So I ride the engine and I ride the ambulance. So one day I'll ride the engine, next shift I'll ride the ambulance. So like yesterday I rode the fire engine and probably next the next shift I'm gonna ride the ambulance. So it's like I went to a dumpster fire like yesterday, just run doing dumpster fires, or I'll go into actual house, put out an actual fire. And then one day I'm like doing CPR on a patient, delivering drugs and whatever they need.
So but like usually like I people I know who are firefighters, they usually like go to the firehouse for like 2 weeks or something like that. They work 2 weeks on or 2 weeks off, but you don't do that, you just work shift work.
Yeah, so our job, it's a little weird getting used to it, but on average, I only work 10 days a month.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so it's like a lot of departments are different. Like a lot of departments have like different schedules, but
gotcha.
most of the time it's not as much as a 9 to 5, like Monday through Friday, kind of thing. You
Oh,
work
you're
less.
working like 12, 14 hour
Yeah,
shifts,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
but I work 24-hour shifts.
24-hour
So
shifts,
it's
yeah.
like at the end of the day, like we'll work like double, almost triple the amount that somebody working 9 to 5, but
Yeah,
we just don't work that, like when it's a 9 to 5, it's like most of your day is gone anyways.
yeah. No, because that's what I learned from
Yeah.
firefighters, that they just like, so they have kids or whatever like that. They're like, okay, well, daddy's going, I'll see you home in like 10 days. And you just sit
Yeah.
there and then you kind of wait for the fire or problem
Yeah.
to occur, I guess, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. But ours, it's like we'll have like a week where it's one day on, one day off.
mhm.
And then after that, we'll have like a 3 day break, go to work, have a 2 day break, go to work, and then we'll have a 5 day break. So we do it
Gotcha.
like that, and then that cycle kind of repeats.
So then you have some time basically to make films, I guess, when you have the 20
Yeah,
days off, I guess, right?
yeah, yeah,
And this film's got fire in it. It's got a firefighter in the
yeah,
film, right?
yeah. So that's why this film involves like so much of myself into it, and it was a film, um, because I was going through something internally, and I always feel like things are happening for me, not to me. I think everything that I go through has its purpose and has its reason. So I wanted to put some elements of me being a firefighter and me being a paramedic in there. Hence like the scenes of like the firefighter scene and the angel in the ambulance and whatnot. And these were like little, I wanted to put like little Easter eggs in the film for people who sort of like dig deeper and get to know me as a person, and almost like setting like these landmines in the future, like they might watch the film and then they'll like research me and they'll be like, oh shit, he's a firefighter, oh he's a paramedic, and then
Yeah.
like start thinking of those elements in the film. So I put those in there just, like for landmines or like, just like blow people's mind a little bit. But yeah, but I think overall the film, I was actually going through like a breakup with my ex-girlfriend, and instead of like using that pain like to crush me, I decided to channel that pain and become an alchemist essentially, and just transmute it and just turn it into creative fuel.
Wow.
So yeah.
So okay, so let's talk about okay. So basically, it's not a conventional narrative. It's obviously it's fanatical, I guess, or it's
Yeah.
fantasy driven. It's artistic driven. It's fashion driven. So did you
Yeah.
write as distinct scripts before you started? Like, what was your preparation before you started filming?
So my preparation was it was just going off of a feeling. Um I I'm one of those people where it's like if I wait for all the planets to align, if I wait for everything to be perfect, it'll never be done.
Hmm.
So it was like initially I had this idea of a fashion film that I wanted to make that was inspired by Dante's Inferno. And, I went to my cinematographer, I told him about it, like, yo, I got this idea, like, let's do it. And then we found this sand dune that we thought would be perfect because I wanted it to be inspired by Dante's Inferno. And I remembered one of the first circles is limbo. And I wanted to connect that because there was also this story of these two lovers who were in that circle too.
Yeah,
And there's even like some Easter eggs that I put in there, like that sort of symbolize the breakup of me and my girlfriend, like the cellophane. Um, and even like when you think of little things like cellophane, it's like it's something that you wrap up and you put on display. Like it's transparent, you put on display. And I felt like that's where our relationship was. And symbolizing me in that desert. Me being alone and like deserted, and then like that cellophane like blown in the wind had symbolized that. And yeah, that's like how it first started out. And then I think it was like uh we started thinking about like, okay, let's like make another film, like
yeah.
let's do something else. And I was just like, well, I kind of want to do something with angel wings. And he was just like, oh yeah, I've actually seen like this painting that kind of looked like you with angel wings, and like it was this crowd, like surrounded by these angels and stuff. And then I was like, oh man, that'd be cool. Like, yeah, let's do that. And then I was like, it'd be even doper is if like we could like rent out an ambulance,
Yeah.
and then like have it like, like a fallen angel kind of scene. And then it just kept building on top of like one another. So it wasn't just like one little like thing. At first it was like, okay, let's just shoot this thing in the sand dunes. But then it just started turning into like every, like every like idea just started building on top of each other. And then we still kept Dante's Inferno theme in mind to anchor us. And then it got even deeper where it was just like, this film, I'm starting to creatively input my own things into it, and it felt like this film was starting to speak to me, and it was starting to become my medication to help me like through this breakup and to focus on my self and to rebuild myself. So then I started taking those elements and I started to symbolize that into the film as well, with the mountain scene of me being chased and hunted by myself. That guy in all black, who was supposed to symbolize like the dark night of the soul, which is like a double entendre because like the dark night, like with a K,
Yeah.
and was gonna, uh, basically, because I feel like as a person, if you really want to change, it's almost as if you have to kill yourself. Like you have to get rid of all your old ways and to become a new person. And I feel like after destruction comes creation, and then you become reborn. So there's a lot of symbolism about going through metamorphosis and how uncomfortable it is, but also how necessary it is.
So the film starts like you're in the desert. So it's
Mhm.
just and it's constant motion from here on
Yeah,
out. Like it's almost like you kind of landed. It's almost like a dream, or like you kind of landed on different planets.
yeah,
Everybody's gonna come up with their own interpretation, right? So
yeah.
basically, then all of a sudden it's just constant motion from there. Like it does, the
Yeah.
camera doesn't stop.
Yeah, and I think that that represents just the internal battle that I'm going through when it comes to like me um going through my transformation, and these different circles and locations and places represent a different level of consciousness, and also like, you know, hence the word circles, because I feel like in order for you to evolve as a person, you have to recognize the patterns that you're doing and how it's holding you in the same place, and how you know, you essentially have to uproot that person and do a self audit and do an autopsy. Like, okay, I keep on getting the same result. Like, I need to change something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Transforming life in measured time. That's sort of like what you say in the film, right?
Yeah, and I wrote the poem too.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything was directed and written by me.
But the poem was written before you started filming.
That was actually written after,
Okay. I was
because
just curious if you got inspired by the footage. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. So like I said, it was like, I'm gonna do this thing and I'm going to figure it out and correct course along the way. I was like, but I know something inside of me wants to come out and express itself. And it was beautiful because it was medication to me. So um and just because I felt like people might be lost with the imagery, I wanted to have that poem to sort of support the interpretation, you know, but still leave it, but still give people enough room to breathe and to think, you know, because not only did I want this to be a self-reflection of who I was and what I was going through, but I also wanted other people to self-reflect and to connect, you know,
Yeah.
the dots to their personal lives.
Well, that's yeah, it's not just masturbatory. It's not self-serving. It's
Yeah.
about you're giving it to the audience. You're not, it's not just about you, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because if it was just about you, with the film wouldn't work. Like that's I'm just
Right.
from experience watching films like that. Yeah, you got
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's where the poem had to come in, because at the end of the day, I mean, at first, yeah, I was making it for myself and for it to be medication for
sure.
myself. But if I'm gonna put it out there in the world, I have to think of the audience too, because you know, there's a such thing as being a selfish artist, just making work just for yourself, you know. And at the end of the day, you have to realize like you're making work for other people as well.
100%. Yeah. So then, okay. So where did you shoot the like all like you like the location's so important to your film, obviously, right? So
Yeah.
where did you find these locations, like the desert, and then setting up the firefighter scenes, the woods? Where did you find all these
Yeah.
locations?
So it was all in Virginia. Like, I didn't go like anywhere like crazy, like no
Yeah.
different
It's an
place or
untapped state.
anything. Yeah, yeah. It's got a lot of hidden gems that
Yeah.
and it's crazy. Like, all my friends are just like, yo, where did you go? And I'm just like, yo, I stayed in VA. Like, I stayed in Virginia. And the sand dunes was like 30 minutes away from my home. Um, the city was just Norfolk, like downtown city. Same thing with the ambulance. It was, you know, in the downtown. The mountains is actually where I'm at right now, where I'm visiting my family. It's like near like the Shenandoah Mountains and stuff. So there's like a lot of hiking trails and stuff. So yeah, I think the one scene that I considered like traveling to Iceland for was the snow scene, because I would just like, bro, I want to go there. Like, I just really want to pull off this look.
Yeah. No, you
Yeah,
did it. Okay, so then tell me about like the filming, like in terms of this, like you said, your first film, you do a lot of these YouTube videos. I'm assuming it's just with you. So what
yeah.
about your crew? How did you kind of get your crew all on board for this film?
So I think one of the hardest things, like after getting the money together, is like working with people and
Yeah,
just like organizing every little thing.
yeah,
Uh,
producing. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I was so many things in this film. Um, like, and I also had to play the producer role. And the guy, Sergio, the cinematographer, like, you know, he was with it from the beginning. And it was like a year of filming. And whenever these ideas sort of like came up, it wasn't like we were like, um, you know, like getting ready for it all to be finished or whatever. It was just like, okay, where you got an idea? we gotta leave. Like, all right, let's go to this location, let's film this. Like, I had this idea that like needs to be expressed, and I think it'd be perfect for the film. It'll go along with the theme. And it was like, for example, like the ambulance thing. It was I didn't even like go to my job. Like I just went to like a private ambulance company and just asked them, and surprisingly, like they were like very cool with it. Like they actually like they did it before, like they rent out ambulance for like, private events, like, carnivals, sports events, things like
Yeah.
that. But I was a little surprised that they were so easygoing when it came to like me using the ambulance for a film. And they had asked me about it, and I told them like I've been submitted to film festivals and have been showing them like which film festival it's been in and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, but they should trust you, right? Like you have you have professionalism, like you're a
Yeah.
firefighter, you're a paramedic, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, and that's
you
why,
know where
like,
you are if something happens to
oh,
the ambulance, right?
what was that?
They know where you are if something happens to the ambulance, right?
Exactly, yeah, yeah. So I think that also played a role into that too. Maybe if I was just like a regular person, they may have like raised an eyebrow, like, what do you
Sure.
mean you want to? Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
yeah.
then, so your cinematographer, Sergio, I'm assuming he's the most important person in your film because
Mhm.
besides yourself, because you're directing it, but you're also in like basically every scene, right? So you're in
Yeah.
front of the camera. So you have to, there's a lot of trust that I'm assuming has to be involved here.
Yeah, a lot of trust. I know some of Sergio's background was being an actor. So he would like, kind of give me cues like, okay, bro, like you're like deserting this desert, like you're like, like you're angry, like, it's cold, like things like that. He would give me cues and whatnot. And even with the angel scene too, we actually wanted there to be an underlying like love story into that,
Mhm.
because I feel like a lot of those scenes had a lot of you know, thoughts about like mortality and me going through uncomfortable situations. But I think the number one like overlooked catalyst of that was like love was what really like started all this. And me personally, that scene was inspired by me always looking for divinity and humanity. Like I'm always looking for like, the one, and I'm always kind of disappointed when like they're not, these divine entities. They're not these angels. They're not like give me this unconditional love that I'm looking for, and they end up just being human beings. And then the higher I build up this fantasy is the harder the fall is back down to earth. And that was like, like depicted in the ambulance scene too, because it was just like you would think the most caring or like loving thing to do would be like to help out this fallen angel, but everybody's pulling out their phones and thinking selfishly about themselves.
Yeah. That's like,
Yeah,
it's like it's a take on society in a sense, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you must have like one would assume that your job, you've seen some shit,
Hmm.
let's put it that way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
it can't be totally positive, right? Like it's got to be some
Right.
pretty awful things you've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. I I think people always ask me that, and it's just like, yeah, I see a lot of death. It doesn't matter the age, gender, ethnicity. You see things that the normal person doesn't see. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Like for example, my grandmother, like, she's upstairs right now and she's actually recovering from a stroke. And I was the one that found her like that. And I took her to the hospital, like called 911, like noticed the stroke signs and everything. And a doctor said like she had 2 days to live. And me being like that, and my whole family was devastated, crying. But not only, I had to be like the strong one. I had
Yeah.
to, because I've seen it before, so it wasn't necessarily a shock to me. but also I have that faith in God, and another power that like she's gonna pull through. And it's about 6 months later, and she's kicking and recovering, and I believe it was that faith, that I wasn't thinking like, oh, all hope is lost, like 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 I have faith in my grandmother that she's gonna pull through and that she's gonna prove all these doctors wrong.
Hmm.
And she did it, and things like that. Not only like do you see like like the bad stuff in the job as well, but you can also like you can't forget about that higher power that helps and supports us and guides us through our lives.
Oh, wow. So tell me, the quick bad transition, but tell me about the editing experience then. After like, this is
Mhm.
like, you're putting the film together, right? So after
Yeah.
you got this footage, how you feeling after you seeing all the footage and everything?
Yeah. So I think everything was shot beautifully. Like it looked, good. But I knew the cherry on top would be to get into CGI and to get into editing.
Yeah,
Um, because I was just like, either I could put out this film and it'll look like, you know, another model from around here, just like, shot a little fashion film, and, he put a little bit of extra work what other models, around here did. But it
yeah,
was like, what's going to make me stand out though? Like, what's going to make somebody be like, oh shit, he's different, and I knew that I was just like, I need to start doing things that nobody else is doing. And I knew that I needed to, um, up the ante. And with like those allegories and symbolisms that we use to make the film could also support the CGI editing.
yeah,
And I had to outsource editors, and
sure.
it was like that fire scene in the city. It was just like that was already like like I knew I was just like I want there to be like fire like in the city. Like I want it to be like that. And I think because that was such like a set idea in my head, I was just like I want all the scenes to have some sort of like CGI in them. Like I want to really go all out with this, and I want to put my all into it. And I made that sacrifice. I was just, and it took a lot of money from me. I had to
Yeah,
pull a lot of overtime in my job, a lot of sleepless nights, here and there. I had to pull it together, but I felt like this is a sacrifice. This is my sacrifice, and right now I'm planting the seed. I'm putting all that work in, and what I sow in tears, I'll reap in joy. Like the same day that I plant the seed ain't gonna be the same day that I eat the fruit. So just gotta keep focus and just, you know, fund these editors and just
yeah.
have them create something great that I know is,
That's amazing.
gonna
It seems
hit.
like
Yeah.
there's some fears to fight too, I guess, right? Some fears and
Hmm.
anxiety to go get through.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot because I got bills to pay, I got food to eat. Oh
Yeah.
my God, there was so many times where I would just get paid and then zoop, zeroed out in my bank account. And it was
I don't
just
mean to
like,
laugh, but yeah, yeah. Like,
yeah, I was just like, I think that's just how much like it just got like I had to sacrifice so much. And in the Bible, they would talk about, books of God's disciples and stuff. Like they would put up like the animals that they would use to feed their families up on the altar and burn it and sacrifice it to God. And they would go days, weeks without food, without receiving a blessing. Days and weeks without like rain, in order to like grow crops. And I had to kind of look at it like that, like this is an offering to God, like this is my sacrifice, and I had to feel that sacrifice.
gotcha. So
Yeah.
are you happy with the film?
Yeah, yeah. I'm extremely happy, and I'm totally happy I did it, because if I didn't do it, it would be like a ghost beside my deathbed, like being like, you should have created that film, like, so I don't like to live with regrets like that.
Are you gonna make another one?
Yeah, I'm actually creating one right now. But this time I actually have some people to help me produce it, like to help
Gotcha.
in the funding. So it's not just me alone.
Yeah.
It's two other people to help. But
So this one was film school basically. And yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was. I was definitely going through some growing pains. I definitely had to pay my tuition.
Yeah. And what did you
So
think about the audience? We sent the audience feedback to you. What did you think what they had to say about your film?
I mean, they said at first it was like something just for me. So it's just very surprising, like because at the end of it, I was like, I really need to think about the audience and the people, so it was very fulfilling, like to hear that they connected with it and that they caught those symbolism and those
Mhm.
allegories that were thrown in there.
Gotcha. Well, amazing film, man. I
Yeah,
can't wait.
thank you.
Let's make sure you keep in touch. I want to see your next film. I think it's
Yeah, cool.
fantastic. So, and yeah, you're on your way. So,
Thank you.
basically, like, and thank you for your service. You know what I mean? It's cliche, but thank you. I know it's
Thank
not an
you.
easy job. So,
Yeah.
all
Thank
right,
you.
man. Have a good one. Let's talk when you make
All
your
right.
next film.
All right. Thank you. You too.